my body down before the day had begun. Mare's porphyria written in my bones, a frequency the modern world disowns. So I built my life beneath the crescent light and found that there are languages in night, while everybody else was basking in the blaze. I learned that darker wombs have other ways. These eyes were shaped to read a broader light. These ears were tuned to what hides out of sight. Can't stomach half the food they serve down here, like someone visiting from a different sphere. And I saw what they couldn't see. The spirits in the walls were waving back at me. Every stone, every bone, every flicker in the chrome. There's something alive on my weird walk home. Yeah, there's something alive on my weird walk home. I walk beside the church without a collar or a creed. I was serving in a sundress that I will go where there is need. The critters in the dark, they recognize my face. I used to be like them in another time and place. I say that all that matter holds a consciousness inside. Existence is layered and the layers learn to hide. So call it what you like, so call it what you will, but someone's always calling me and it's calling to be still. And I see what they can't see. The spirits in the walls were waving back at me. Every tree, every key, every whisper in the breeze. Doom it in us, there's a presence if you please. Yeah, there's something alive on my weird walk home. Artemaeus took my hand and joined me on this ride. He saw objects manifesting from the other side. Time would skip like a record on a scratch. Then one night someone wore my thinking on the latch. Shadows in the bedroom just past 3. He said, darling, what is that you? I said, no, dear, that's just Tuesday in my atmosphere. Then the gods of Egypt came for me with a message, and his initiation was complete. 'Cause we see what they can't see. The fairies and the mimics and the things between the trees. Storms roll in like for dim, that's when the veil is thin. There's a whole world breathing beyond your skin. Merry morning, or magical midnight, around the dimensions, through the vibrations. Whenever you may be, whichever plane you're living in, whatever century, your spirit's always welcome here. You are not alone, so follow the lantern, find the stone. You're joining me on my weird walk home.
Welcome in, loves. This is Spirited Way, designing your afterlife in this life. My guest tonight is Samantha Corfield. Samantha is a teacher, a spiritual counselor, and a writer. Her degree is in Theology and World Religion. Her new book is Create Your Own Afterlife, Take Control of Life After Death by Llewellyn. They put that out this year. This July, she was on Coast to Coast AM with George Noory. Pretty cool, huh? Tonight, she joins Artemaeus and me. Stick around and play our trivia game tonight. You could win a digital copy of my book, The Persistence of Ghosts. And that one, my dears, was published by my friends and I over at Zontar Press. Hello, loves. Thank you very much for joining me in Artemaeus. I know you have been especially busy. Thank you so much. We'll try to make it easy on you tonight. Samantha, this is your first time here. How are you, dear?
I'm well. How about you guys? You look great. So that's good.
Oh, thank you. It's been really hot here, so I'm a little flushed, but I mean, I guess that just signals that I'm alive, right?
Absolutely. It's been really hot here. I'm in New Mexico right now. And I wouldn't really, where I'm from, New Orleans, I would not want to be there right now because it might as well be Florida. It's
Yeah,
so humid and it never cools down. Like here, it cools down at night because it's a desert.
sure.
So that's great. But, like in New Orleans, nope, we're hot. Now we're getting hot. Now we're still hot. So, yeah, I
That's
feel you.
wild. Yeah, and that's interesting because that's one of my dream locations to visit is New Orleans. So maybe one day, maybe
Yes.
one day. All right,
That's
everyone. So this is Samantha Corfield. We've read her intro. You're welcome to play the game. Each of us is going to read off a question later on. If Samantha is up to it, you might want to check your messenger. I sent you something really interesting,
okay.
Samantha. But please, of course, take your time. Aside from that, why don't you tell us how you got involved in all that you do? I mean, it's such a unique field to begin with.
I
But the
was
twist that
like,
you bring to it, I think, is just spectacular.
how much time did you say we had? No. Yes.
Up to 2 hours.
Okay. When I was a little bitty child. Okay, so that sounds like a joke, but it's not. So I basically grew up in kind of all the things, and being from New Orleans helped. It also helped that my mother was a devotee of many things, and so I was an only child. And when she didn't have a babysitter, I got to go to, I was like 5 years old, went to my first seance.
Mhm.
And people would be like, are you bringing your little girl here? Because, and my mom was like, oh, she's fine. Um,
Mhm.
this is kind of funny. Years later, I had gone to a seance and I got a little nervous and I climbed under the table.
Oh,
And you know how they always say, oh, they're under the table with petals and strings and all of that. Well,
yes.
there was nothing under this table. Nothing. People's feet were the only thing. And so years later, when I read that, I was like, well, not for that one. It certainly was not being. So, yeah. And of course, New Orleans is a voodoo town. And of course, there's a lot of that. And then old New Orleans traditional witchcraft. So I really kind of grew up with, my mom was very eclectic, everything from Edgar Casey, uh, to burning witchcraft candles, going to church and burning candles. So it was just like a really broad base. Well, now I'm very, very grateful for that because no one ever told me that things weren't real.
Mhm.
So when I said I saw a spirit, I saw a ghost, I
Yeah.
saw a leprechaun, my mother didn't go, no, you didn't. That's your imagination. She would go, show me, tell me, what did they say? What did they look like? Did you see them? Did you just hear them? Did you feel them? And you know, inadvertently, I guess, or all those things developed in me naturally. I didn't have to go learn them. And so I am very grateful for that. I think it's different than a lot of people's experience. And I've always been enchanted with death. That's kind of my thing. Um, as a Vodou Mambo, my patron Loa is Baron Samedi. So,
Oh,
which was no surprise. You don't pick them, they pick you. And then when the Mambo that initiated me told me, I was like, well, there's not really a surprise there because this is the kid that wanted to have, like picnics in the cemetery. And yeah. Um, so kind of shoots us down to that. Um, which for a long time, I, as an adult, not as a child, I thought it was going to be born, raised a Catholic. I was going to be me, Jesus, the cloud. That that was what I expected. That's what I wanted, and that's what, as a child, I was working very hard towards.
right.
So, which is fine. Um, But as I grew, as I entered university, I started studying world religions and theology. Yeah, as a very young person, I was like, okay, there's much more to all of this. And then, of course, I had my spiritualist background running over here, Catholic running over here, spiritualist running over here,
Yeah.
kind of thing. And so the book itself was born due to a friend of mine being very, very ill. And she was dying, and she knew she was dying. And she had been a student of mine. I had been her mentor for, I don't know, 20 years. And so all she wanted to know from me is what's going to happen.
Hey,
What am I going to
Samantha,
see? Uh-huh.
it sounds like you're having a little trouble. Would you like to have a break real quick to get yourself some water or a hot drink?
Oh, no, I have a lot of allergies, so
You do?
sorry.
Okay. That's okay.
Yeah,
I just
so
wanted to make sure that you were all right because it sounds like you're
I
having a bit
will.
of a struggle.
Here we go.
Perfect.
Yeah. I have kind of a naturally raspy voice to start with, and when the allergies start up, yeah, that's the thing.
Well, please do
Um,
continue. This is riveting.
okay, so that's all she wanted to know from me. She didn't want to know one other thing except what is going to happen to me.
Yeah.
What's there? And despite my years of learning, 40 years of being a minister, I didn't have the right answer. I just didn't. There there was no satisfactory answer to that. And so one day I got a little bit frustrated and I just went, well, what do you want to happen? And I said it kind of like that.
Yeah.
And then as soon as I said it, I was like, how you just blurt something out and then
Sure.
you wish, could you take that back, please? Well, of
Sure.
course I couldn't take it back. And so just about the time I was about to say, I'm so sorry, that really overstepped regardless of our relationship, that was really out of line. She started in with a litany of things that she wanted to happen. She probably talked for 10 minutes, which is a long time to talk without really taking a breath. She probably talked for 10 minutes about what she wanted to happen. And I said, start writing this down. She started writing, I started writing. And then I think she lived another 3 months after that. So we spent probably the next 2 months in working desperately on that. She was in California. I'd gone to see her and do some rituals and things with her while I was there, and just worked and worked and worked on this. And just the last time I saw her, I'd gone to see her, and we knew she wasn't going to be much longer. She gave me
Yeah.
all of her papers that she had written and said, well, I want you to have these. And so I still have them. So just from that one question, a whole book was born. And I'm so grateful that it was, because I'm getting such amazing feedback from people who are grieving, that are using the book to help them, get past their grief and those kind of things. Some people who unfortunately have already started their sacred journey and will be leaving us, in a month or 2 months or 6 months. Just all kinds of people have just reached out and said, this is life changing. And
Mhm.
I feel so grateful for that question, the answer, and all the guides who guided me through this book. People look at me funny when I go, it's a wonderful book. They're like, I'm sorry, what? I'm like,
Right.
no, I'm the fingers, because it just all felt so guided. And I've written many, many things before, so it's not like I didn't know how to write, but so much of this just felt like just one guide after an angel, after a name it. It just was just channeled through this thing. So Yeah. So that's how it got started.
Very good. And I want to say welcome to the people who are joining us here in the chat. I see Deb and I see Lavetta. I appreciate you being here. We hope that you love this show. Please stick around. We're going to play a game. If you could, please kindly like this live stream, show some support in that way, and maybe be so kind as to share it on Facebook or wherever you get your social media so that we can really get the party started. That would make my night. But regardless, thank you for being here. And yes, I do agree. Samantha Corfield is a fabulous guest, and we are going to make the most of her time with us. Hopefully she'll come back and party with us again.
Heck
But
yeah.
I think that is just a marvelous introduction to the wide world of death and transition, and some would even say interdimensional travel. What do you think about
Absolutely.
that theory?
Oh, whew. Okay. So yes, I am 100% behind that. And I think you're right. I mean, I covered a lot of things that some people kind of thought was a little bit outlandish for the book, you know. But
Mhm.
but I think it definitely covers that. And I think that, okay, let's face it, we're going to shed this body at some point.
Yeah.
And the whole point is to have that plan in mind for, like people that believe in reincarnation, people that believe in all kinds of different things. I'm like, yes, but you can plan it.
Mhm.
And I, my sister-in-law and I feel like our family may have moved a dimension, and we didn't mean to, because like one day we were all one way, and then almost automatically we were all slightly another way. And she's like, we shifted. We shifted some kind of way. I was like, I agree. So I don't know what happened,
Yes.
I guess at least we all went. So maybe that was good, right?
Yeah,
But
absolutely. And I'm right there with you because I have had several, you could say, near death, or even I would say death experiences
mhm,
where I was given a choice to come back here in different, you
mhm,
could say, timelines or different versions of this reality. And that in itself really cemented my personal belief, you could say, in the theory of quantum immortality. And so now,
absolutely.
yes, I personally party every single day like it is the last day of my life. Whereas before I did
Yep,
that, but I was kind of, a little bit shyer about it. But now I live out loud, I party out loud. And I
yep,
know that no matter what, the quantum universe, gods, goddesses, whomever is managing me
yep,
here on my weird walk home, they've got my back. And I want everyone
yep,
else to have that same kind of journey should they wish to have it. Now,
absolutely.
Artemaeus, my dear, why don't we talk a little bit about what it might look like to not plan your journey quite so well? For anyone who may be a little bit new here, Artemaeus is my dear husband, and he has been my paranormal apprentice for going on 11 years. But our walk together took a totally different turn when his grandfather beyond the grave returned for my attention. Take it from here, please.
Yeah, or very nearly 1 foot in the grave, I guess you could say. Yeah, and we talked about this recently, and it'll also be appearing as the cover story on Tilly's newest magazine, which I'm sure we'll talk about here shortly. But yeah, so long story short, my grandfather, maybe not an unfamiliar story for many people who have older relatives. It was different times, different generations. He grew up in a pretty rough way, let's just say. Many children were in the family, and most of them were not attended by either parent. And so he kind of had to scrap his way through and didn't get the best upbringing. And as a result, by the time he got to the end of his life, he had been through a divorce, remarried, and of course, he had two children from a prior marriage, my mother and my uncle. And, things were made relatively amended towards the end, but he carried a lot of guilt and shame for the way that he grew up, and then how he, in a lot of ways, for a good number of years, abandoned his responsibilities as a father. And he could not let that go, despite most of us, having the benefit of the internet and, less stigma around therapy, telling him it's okay, we understand, why it happened, and then, that you're doing your best now, we understand, is the best that anybody can hope for. But that just wasn't quite enough for him. So he ended up in hospice finally towards the end of his life. And I hadn't really intended on visiting him, because he sort of indicated, at least at the earlier stages, that he didn't wish to be remembered in quite the state that he was now in, and sort of just wanted to be on his own, which I was honestly a bit relieved to hear, because I had never seen anybody on their deathbed before, and that's not exactly something that I think anybody ever really looks forward to. So Tilly and I had not intended to attend any further. However, and not to give too many spoilers, shortly before we ended up deciding to come, we were getting some early twilight of the day paranormal activity that seemed very much to indicate that while my grandfather, out of one side of his mouth, was saying, "Do not come," there was the other part of him, the perhaps more panicked part of him, and the part that was already one foot in the grave, that was crying out essentially for a little bit more help. And I, have been surprised very often still to this day by my discoveries with Tilly, with the paranormal, and with what she experiences in her day-to-day life, in her reality, from her perspective. And my understanding of exorcism was what Hollywood would have shown me, which is, very sensationalized, and now that I've come to understand, not terribly accurate. But I realized that in these paranormal ongoings that were happening around the house with greater frequency, each passing day, that my grandfather was attempting to basically get Tilly to come to his bedside to help him with the transition. Chaplains really weren't doing it for him, and he really wanted Tilly to come help. And so I got a crash course in human exorcism and attended that bedside ceremony. And what was interesting is that it took 2 days of intense paranormal activity in the wee hours of the dawn before Tilly acquiesced. And sure enough, things went very, very quiet the next day or two, until we showed up at his bedside, and she performed the duties as requested. And the passing was, from that point on, as peaceful as I think it could have been, especially seeing the way that he presented in hospice before Tilly greeted him, and then after. Night and day. Very, very different experiences. So, like I said, not to give too many tidbits away, because that's all in the magazine article. But yeah, I learned what not doing your inner work and doing your, purposeful architectural engineering of your afterlife, what that looks like towards the very end. This is not one of those things where you want to procrastinate and wait until you are incapacitated in a lot of ways, and terrified, honestly, to do any of that work. That is not the time. So I've seen how important that work is. So Samantha, I very much appreciate that you had that experience with your friend to be able to channel and put out that book, because I think that is something that is lost, at least in most of American culture. I know the Egyptians, I've heard documentarian Joanne Fletcher say that the Egyptians believed the most important thing that you could do in your life was to die. And we don't look at it that way here in America. Especially our culture around death is awfully morose and very final, and Yeah, and there's not much redeeming about it, but I think people would be very relieved to read your book and hear, and you've already gotten the feedback from people that if you have a choice to look at death the way that maybe most Americans do, very morose and final, or look at it like the Egyptians did, like, hey, yeah, we're gonna chalk this tomb full of all the best party goods and on we go, let's have at it. Which way would you rather do it?
Right.
So yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and my dears, I see we have more people joining us. Thank you everyone for watching, commenting, liking, sharing. Please do continue to do that. We're trying really hard over here to get this party started and to make a bigger go of the Weird Walk Home, Intermediary Arts, Intermediary Magazine, all of it. So if you could please kindly like, share, comment, subscribe, all of that good stuff, we'd really appreciate it. Now, to make things the party that we promised, thank you, both of you, for giving your stories. I definitely appreciate that, and I'm sure the audience does too. We were going to be playing a trivia game, and I have the first question for us, and then we'll get back to interviewing Samantha. You see what I'm wearing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. No one's ever seen me wear polka dots before. Who here can tell us what the occult meaning of polka dots happens to be? Samantha, you might know this one. You're not allowed to say it if you do.
I know. Dang it.
But yes, so
I see some of my children out there. My spiritual children have joined us. One of them might know. I don't know.
very well. And I think it's interesting that you brought up children. That's a great clue for the audience. So if anyone happens to know, please don't Google it or chat GPT it. But if anyone happens to know, please put it in the chat. And the first person to get it correct will win a digital copy of my new book, The Persistence of Ghosts. Darn it, I meant to leave one here with me, but I didn't do that while setting up. I apologize. But anyways, even after the stream, if no one gets it right here, you may still win if you enter it in the comments later. All right, Samantha, please do continue. I thought that Artemaeus's input was fascinating. What do you think?
Absolutely. And what's interesting about that is I actually have a goodly portion of the book devoted to trying to shed some of the things, just like your grandfather was talking about, or, his life, Artemaeus was, like that. And then I started to wonder if you and I were related, because that was like my grandfather's story. He abandoned my grandmother and her 5 children, remarried. He didn't talk to the kids for a long time. Then they kind of, they all kind of tried to get back together. But I was like, this story sounds so familiar. So I have a goodly portion of this book devoted to the idea of shedding what you can, shedding what negative things you are carrying. Are you going to shed everything? No, you are not. But you can certainly make some inroads. Things about guilt and that kind of thing. Those sorts of things that are in just negative types of things, and even bad things that have happened to you, to try to find a way to reconcile that in some kind of way. Don't take that with you. I have something that happened to me. I'm never reconciling it. I know it's going with me, but I try to get rid of the rest of it, So are we going to sit here and go, if you read Create Your Own Afterlife, my publicist might be watching, so I have to be like,
Of course.
Of course. Shameless
God
plugs,
lover.
absolutely encouraged.
God lover. If you're watching, my cat. So there's just different aspects of, and I do a lot of exercises, and there's a ton of journaling in here, journal prompts and affirmations, and just different ways to put things in some kind of perspective so that you're not hauling this with you. And it really preempts just what Artemaeus was saying happening, because and also it's kind of the do the best you can.
Mhm.
It's not. I don't want people to be frustrated by the book and go, oh my God, I can't do all this. It's not that. It's just
Right.
do the best you can, and it's
Yes.
also meant to be for everyone. So current belief systems, current spiritual beliefs, religious beliefs, or lack thereof are not really a problem. That's not really an issue because the book is meant to be for everyone. And it's meant for you to mold it the way you want to. And it's also meant for you to take what resonates with you and leave the rest. So, I'm always trying to tell people that this is not Samantha Corfield's going to come in and tell you how to prepare for your afterlife and how to run your afterlife, and you have to do this, this, and this. It's the exact opposite of that. It's like, here's a blueprint, here's some ideas. You take from this and make it your own. And that was just one of the big, big things that I tried to do throughout writing the book, is to not, I didn't want to sway it towards anybody's belief system, mine, yours, anyone's. I wanted to be very open for people. And apparently some of that worked, because I've had some people that felt very relieved because they had maybe what people might think is an alternative lifestyle or an alternative spiritual view. And everything that they kind of turned to told them they had to change. They
Mhm.
had to be something else. They had to be
Mhm.
someone else in order to reach nirvana or the peace or heaven, whatever you want to call it. And, I'm here. I just preaching to people to please don't believe that. Please, you keep your beliefs. And what are we going to do with that? We're going to enhance that. We're going to build on that. And you take this book and you make it your own. That's really its point. It's never me telling people what to do.
I love that. Yes. So my role
Mhm.
is intersecting with yours, but there are some stark, cool differences, I think.
Mm,
People tend to look at me like a psychopomp, essentially. And
sure.
that is typically what my role is as an
Mm,
esoteric exorcist when it comes to
sure.
doing the human exorcisms. And people think a lot of the time that exorcisms are just, removing a non-human being or a non-human person or whatever from a human being, but that's not the case in all cases. In
Right.
fact, a lot of my own casework has centered around dying or recently deceased human beings who could not let go of this life. And so my journey with them was to come in and work with them to lead them to the other side, along with certain companions who showed up from the other side of the veil. I can never speak about who I work with, so please kindly no questions about that, anyone. But it is a very sacred role. It's a sacred right, and it
Mhm.
follows a lot of what you do. And that's a big reason why I wanted to have you on tonight, because I think that we have one side of the coin, each of us. And oh my
Mhm.
goodness, I think that together we can create a beautiful roadmap to hopefully
Oh,
help a
yeah.
lot of people out there, so
Yeah,
my background.
absolutely.
Yes, I was born with a different eye structure, different ear structure, my brain scans. I have different brain chemistry, so I work with labs a lot, genetic specialists, and lots of different types of scientists. And in years past, I had worked with the Catholic Church. I was part of their investigation and exorcism team. They don't like to be too terribly open that they have that type of a thing, but they do. And I was a co-lead for a little bit over a year. And then beyond that, I was part of a specialty trauma healing psychological program And I got about halfway through the program before I decided it really just wasn't for me. But I learned invaluable things from those
Mhm.
years studying and being in the field that I now use in my own cases now today when I do take a case. It's rare, but it happens. And that information that I garnered is irreplaceable. So that's
For
basically
sure.
essentially where I'm coming from. And pretend like I'm holding my book. The persistence of ghosts. I have chapters in there that talk about how to live a healthier, more balanced, more aware life. So essentially, how to learn metacognition, which is the ability to think about how you think and to think about what you think. That feeds into free will, and that's huge, I would say, in planning and designing your own afterlife. So, Samantha,
Yeah.
where would you start exactly if we were going to start teaching people how to build their own custom afterlife?
So I would say get this book. Sorry,
That's perfect.
I couldn't help myself. So
Yes.
I wanted to say something real quick about free will. That is
Yeah.
one of the big tenets of my book is people have this idea that after they pass, they don't have free will anymore. I don't understand where that came from. I'm like, if you believe a creator, any creator, bestowed upon you free will, why would they take it away because you shed that body? That doesn't make sense. They didn't give the free will to your body. They gave the free will to your spirit. And so that's kind of been an eye opener for some people, simply because they just assumed, or whatever upbringing they have doesn't really talk about that. And so that was an eye opener for people, that your free will remains, and that's what makes this successful. That is what makes this successful, is remembering that you're the power. And I always tell people you're the magic. You are the power that is going to drive this. Your higher power that you believe in is also there, but you're going to drive the car to where we're going. And so, to get back to your question, I I try to get people, uh, even in the book, to kind of start simply. And this is one of the things that people said that they just love to do so much. And that was make a list, two lists. Who do you want to see in the afterlife? Who do you not want to see in the afterlife? The thing that cracks me up the most is people are like, oh, I had so much fun writing my list for who I don't want to see in the afterlife. That was unexpected.
Oh
I know it was very unexpected because we have lost our loved ones, and our pets, and all these living beings that are gone from us physically now, and we want to see them again. But people took a great deal of pleasure in the who I do not want to see list. So I was like, I'm telling you,
no.
these readers have surprised me so much along the way, and it makes me so happy to see them just take this thing and make it their own and run with it. Whole point,
Yeah.
right? So that's where I tell people to start. It's like, let's just figure out who do you want to see, who you not want to see, and
Oh,
then
I love it.
kind of take it from there. And then
Oh,
I
I love it.
encourage people to do a first meeting scenario. Who is it? Or if it's your, maybe not surprising, but a great amount of people, including my friend that the book is sort of based on, um, wanted to see their pets. People had done them wrong, and they were like kind of done with it, but they wanted to see their beloved pets that they just missed so dearly. And so I have you write a scenario about that. And I put my own in the book. It's to meet my dad at this kind of dive bar in New Orleans that we used to go to and dance and, just have some beers, that kind of thing. But anyway, so that's such a really good core memory for me, for with me and my father. And so I wrote that whole thing out. I cleared it in the book. And I also put some samples from other people that I know, real samples of what they wanted their first thing to be. So now you're talking about psychopomps or guides and all of that being waiting for you to walk you over. This does not negate that.
Mhm.
No, this does not negate that in any way. And again, like I said, it's not to negate anything. But the point of it is with making that scenario is that whatever journey you take to get where you eventually are, whether it's your guides, whether it's a religious figure, whatever your belief system is hoping it will be, and then it probably will be, whatever that is, once that has passed and we get to that, the me time of it, that's when we expect these things to coalesce and for this to begin that journey for us, and then pushing down that one domino to all the rest of the things that you hope to see. And of course, always my husband was, I don't want to plan everything, I want to be surprised. I was like, well, that is a plan.
That's a plan.
That
A
is an
perfectly
actual
lovely one, I
plan.
think.
Right. So I was like,
Yeah.
plan some things and get in your mind, I want to have a beautiful experience, or I want to have
Yes.
whatever it is. So it's not meant to put everything in a neat little box
Mhm.
and this absolutely is what has to happen and has to happen in this order. It's not that. It's not that at
No,
all.
no, I don't think it is
So
at all. And I think that again, our philosophies work beautifully together because at least from where I'm sitting, when I have to show up to someone's deathbed, it's not because they're having the relatives there to greet them, and it's because there's an angel waiting in the corner, offering his hand or whatever. It's a completely different type of case. And
right.
so I completely support what you are saying, and it actually supplements some of what I personally have seen in
Hmm.
my own experiences. And I think that the beauty of this is that every person dies differently. I mean, we can get
Right.
into this maybe on another show, but I think that it depends on temperament, genetics. It depends on karma, how you lived your life, and then whether or not you've done this death party planning or not. But I mean,
Right.
this is just my opinion. So everyone take it or leave it. That's just my thought. And I think to get to the fun part that we're talking about now, um, again, pretend I have my book here. You'd want to read some of my own chapters because it'll lay the foundation psychologically from the view of psychopomps, essentially. And once you get all of the not so fun basement stuff sorted out, then we can get to this. And we have some very similar views here. You're talking about
Mhm.
planning out what you're going to do and who you're going to see. And I started right around then too. If I was going to suggest to someone to plan their own exit, then I would be suggesting for someone to think about where they want to go, same as you, but then also what are you going to be wearing? What are you going to be doing? And then
All of
that's
that.
my base to start from. What
Yeah.
do you think about
Yeah.
that?
Oh, 100%. 100%. And it's interesting you should say that. I didn't put a huge emphasis on physicality. Um, Long story short, it was kind of, it didn't look, it wasn't, kind of wasn't a pretty picture, so I left it out. But
Mhm.
anyway, because so many people are unhappy with the way they look. especially here in America, and especially a lot of our younger women, um, they're never happy with the way they look. And so, like, okay, maybe start there. Maybe build that person that you think you want to be, or how you want to look, or like you said, what are you going to be wearing? Are you going to be wearing your favorite perfume? You have a nice dress. Are you wearing polka dots? Um, so that kind of thing. So I think that's in perfect alignment, really, with exactly what you're saying.
Makes sense to me. Yeah.
Mhm.
Later on, I will read from The Persistence of Ghosts, my own most recent death encounter. And a big part of that encounter was that I I woke up where I was, and I was having the most perfect hair day that I can ever
Oh,
remember. And my skin was glowing, I was perfectly healthy, and then I was wearing a gorgeous dress that was something straight out of a dream. And this is why for me now it's something that I recommend planning, because I just got so much joy and surprise from that. It was unlike any death experience I had had before. And I wonder if that could bring a lot of relief to people, especially as you were saying, the American woman, sitting down and maybe sketching it out and making light of
right,
this, making it into a bit of a
right,
party, have your favorite snacks, maybe sit down with a friend or beloved family member, you know what I mean? And
right,
just have a workbook and plot it all out. And it could actually be one of your most favorite core memories, to be honest. At least that's my
right.
thought.
Oh, right. So can we skip back a minute to the interdimensional thing? Because can I ask you guys a question?
Please do. It's
Um,
meant to be a two-way interview.
so have either of you read the account of that woman who was in a coma for, I think it was like 6 or 7 months, and when she woke up, she wanted to know where her husband was, where her children were,
Yep.
where was she, because she wasn't where she was. And they had to put this woman into some really heavy therapy because she was mourning a life she lived in the coma.
I remember that.
Husband,
Yeah.
children. She just was crying and crying for her children. I'm like, well, if that's not a parallel universe, interdimensional thing, so what did you guys think about that?
I'm not at all surprised. Artemaeus and I both have had a lot of time slip and shifting timeline experiences, so it's nothing new for us. And
Hmm. Hmm.
with the magical life that I've always lived, I'm not attached to any one timeline or any one version of any one person
Right,
in particular, to be honest with you. And a
right,
lot
right,
of the work that I was doing when I was handling cases a lot more regularly, um, I was giving people a lot of existential therapy, essentially, talking to them about what I perceive to be the nature of reality, because a lot of people were not at all prepared to handle things like the Mandela effect or
right,
slips or glitches in the matrix.
right.
And that was just a ton of my paranormal work outside of mediating cases with NHP, so non-human people encounters, and different types of exorcism casework. And
Hmm.
her story, I do believe that it is genuine. And whether it's
Oh,
real or
yeah.
not objectively, I do think that there is something to it at minimum in her subconscious. And I hope that existential therapy can become more and more of a thing here as we move on through time, because I think that it would help to really ease a lot of human suffering. But what do you make of it, Artemis?
Yeah, well, I'm not sure, Samantha, how familiar you are with my background prior to Tilly, but almost all that informs my positions, my perspectives, my theories is based in evolutionary biology, animal behavior, human psychology, the ego, Carl Jung, that sort of discipline. And
Yep.
so it makes sense to me that people here, you have one of two major persona types. You have the type that when they encounter an unknown scenario or situation, they will be very curious. And then you have the type of person that will be in fight or flight mode. They're going to try to, they're scared for their life. They don't know what's going on, what's happening, and for them, the unknown is the scary part because
Right.
they have no program, no preset experience to tell them that things are going to be okay, and they're preoccupied with making sure that they're going to be okay. I've
Right.
noticed that the people who are more curious when those sorts of situations happen tend to be the more neurodivergent, lower ego type that are very unattached, but people might call them sort of airheaded, but they're always just happy. They're rather unencumbered by, the worries and the concerns in that way. And, being unattached doesn't mean that they are uncaring or
Right.
psychopathic in any kind of nature. It's just that they don't hold with a death grip, literally, to
Right.
those known experiences and situations. So it that's the part that I think therapy helps people with here. That when for me anyway, I will say this type of therapy helped me in understanding that base animal psychology, that lower brain primitive. I'm just very concerned with making sure I'm okay. If you can
Right.
kind of pull yourself away from that and look at it and go, okay, this is a part of me that's always concerned with that. But I also know if I have a faith or a belief or anything, that there is more to this and that everything ultimately is going to be okay. You're able
Mhm.
to okay and take a deep breath, and you can
Right.
process things a little bit better. The observer becomes the observed, as I've heard it say. So
Right.
that's generally where I come from that whole perspective. So
Yeah. Well, really, my heart was just breaking for this woman. And the more I read about it, and I watched a few interviews with her, but it was so overwhelming to me that I had to back away from the seeing her talk because this happened. This did not happen in her mind. This happened because the more I watched her, the more I realized that there were people mourning her, mourning the loss of her. So I don't know if when she woke up here, she died there or if she disappeared. I mean, who would know and how? But I could literally feel that family mourning her. And it it really kind of brought me like full circle with the book and the method and what Tilly is saying as well, her belief systems and methods. There's just so much more to everything that than we realize because I've had a few experiences where I had several dreams that had a child in there, and I have a child and I have grandchildren. But this is not a child that I physically birthed here. And every time I would wake up from it, I would just be just overwhelmed with the feeling of loss and kept going, okay, well, it's not real. It's not real. And then one day I was like, it's real somewhere.
mm,
So just lean into it was kind of what I decided. So
sure.
now when I dream of her and I wake up and I don't, yeah, and I know she's not in this lifetime with me, I'm not as devastated because I'm like, okay, but we're somewhere. We're somewhere.
And that reminds me briefly. I'll just give this little anecdote as a supporting to the um, the Mandela effect. That it kind of all ties into the Mandela effect in multiple realities, multiple dimensions. When I first met Tilly in person, I was absolutely devastated and distraught on one level because there were past lives, at least this is how it came across to me, that I was vividly, viscerally remembering having over and over and over again failed her, or witnessed her passing because of some failure on my end, and just being so overcome with grief. And after so many days of meeting with her in person, and just kind of like somebody just wallowing in misery, wanting to hold and touch and be with their person until the last days of death, she was like, man, you gotta cut this out, you're bumming me out, like we're here living now, like it's already been a thing, or it's concurrently a thing somewhere else, but not here in this particular reality. So like, come on, let's go, and I think that's something that is tough for humans sometimes to unstick themselves from, like you said, going from the
Right.
dream state to waking, you're
Right.
being pulled between the two or several different realities. So yeah, that absolutely can be tough.
Oh, yeah. So, yeah. But yeah, I mean, but how I always say the devil's in the details. I think
Mhm.
that's another thing about Tilly's book and my book, is that sometimes those details can matter. And the sooner you kind of get the mindset of, okay, I'm going to project this forward from here on out. I think that maybe even if you never wrote a note, or if you never put a journal entry, uh, just reading about it and getting in your mind, wait a minute, there is something more. There's something that I can do. And that is something you guys will really appreciate. That I've had a number of readers who were in some marginalized groups, for one marginalized group or another. And they said this really helped them because they had control over this. They were going to be who they wanted to be. They were going to be what they wanted to be. They were going to do what they wanted to do. And interestingly, which is a big hope for me with this book, it started helping them in this living life. It started helping them see some realities, to not be so beat down by others, and which I know sounds so easy and not easy, but to allow themselves to start to build that self, because realizing I'm taking the self with me. We're not done here. We have other things we're going to do. And really just bolstering their confidence in ways. This was a bonus in the book. I'm going to tell you, this is a bonus, that many marginalized people took up this flag and ran with it, and in their living life. And so that was a big bonus for me.
I
It really
love that.
was.
And that can get kind of into reality surfing too. I wrote about
Right.
this in our book, Weird Time, Exploring the Mysteries of Time and Space. And I think that's also an important part of passing away, dying, however you'd like to phrase it. Because as I was mentioning earlier, I had the choice of where I wanted to go and what I was going to do. And then also what was going to happen, when it was going to happen, why it was going to happen. I was able to actually design coming back to Earth from the other side a few times. This happened to me twice. And so it's something that I really want to get out there more at some point. And hey, maybe that could be some kind of cool book that you and I write. I don't know. But
Hey, I would
I
love to
think,
do that. Let's do it.
heck yeah. Well, then we can chat about that after the show. But I
Okay.
agree with everything that you're saying here, because these people who are maybe they're living lives that are painful and difficult here in the now, planning their passing on doesn't have to mean a final exit at all. It could mean that you jump to a different timeline where maybe you heal
Right.
miraculously,
Right.
or Who
Right.
knows? There's really no end to it, because I personally believe that God, whatever God is endless. And so because we come from that source, I think that we are endless as well. And I think it's all a head game.
Absolutely.
I think it's a mind game, to be honest with you. And that's why I view these planning parties as so very important to unlocking our full potential.
Oh yeah. I even have a part in the book. If you want to plan with another person, let's just say
Yes.
you and Artemaeus were going to plan, I even have sort of a little contract, an afterlife contract. Where are we going to meet? What are we going to do if you go first? What are you going to do if I go first? You know, just that whole thing of sitting down with someone, when you're lucky enough to have someone of like mind, that you could actually sit down and go through the book together and work it. I just thought the soul contract was there's something concrete about putting things on paper,
Yeah.
that just sort of solidifies things sometimes. And so the soul contract is you and your loved one, whether it's your husband or your, whatever
Mhm.
person that you love. Um, can literally sit down and be like, okay, and that one's actually pretty easy because they're like, okay, well, where are we going to meet? Like, let's get this scenario down. Like, what are we going to do here? And so I think that, it's funny because in our living lives, we will often plan for, well, what do we do if I go first? Especially people with children and things like that. Well, if I go first, this, and this. If you go first, this, that, and the other. And so that's not an uncommon thing. So why not just carry it over, and just go ahead and decide those questions as well.
I agree. Artemis, what would yours look like?
Ah, put me on the spot with that
Oh,
question.
that's private, Tilly.
Yeah, well, you know what? With the way I feel right now, it's probably gonna look like a hammock on the beach for days on end right
Yeah.
now. I just need a break. That's what I'm thinking.
Will there be a lazy river?
Oh, absolutely.
Then I'm
Yes.
there. Count me in.
Yes, indeed. Hey, could I read you guys one of the accounts of one of the people, one of their things that they planned?
Oh,
Uh,
yes. Please,
yeah.
absolutely do. And then I believe we have a question in the chat. So that's where
Oh, go
we'll go
ahead.
after you're done.
Yeah, I saw that question and I thought, ooh, that's a good one,
It
Lavette. I
is, isn't it?
definitely want to see that answered.
Yes. I think I understand the question properly. I will absolutely give it my best shot. But Lavetta, if I understand anything improperly, please do feel most welcome to correct me on the spot, because I want to make sure that I give you the best answer possible. And of course, my husband's most welcome to answer, as is Samantha. So we'll get to your question as soon as we roll through this party plan
I
account
had
that
it
Samantha
marked.
has.
I had it marked, and of course the bookmark fell off.
Oh
Oh, of
no.
course.
Dang it! Well, listen. Hey, Lavetta is my spiritual daughter, so we can just ask her question while I'm
Nice.
fiddling around here.
All right. So Lovetta wants to know, what is the difference between the method and that of a death doula or a psychopomp?
This
The
method,
way,
honey. She said
huh?
this. She said this method. What's the difference between this method and that of a death doula or a psychopomp?
This method. Are you referring to my method? Or I would need a little bit more context, but I will do my best to answer. So what I do is very different, because death doulas, they are helping someone who doesn't have nearly as much toxic baggage, you could say. she or he isn't working with the portion of society that I do in a human exorcism case. So for a human exorcism case, I'm working with people who are deeply abused. They have a lot of trauma, and or they are abusers themselves and their karma is coming due. It results typically in some really nasty hauntings for the people who are being left here behind on earth. So those are our three criteria that I use to diagnose the eligibility for the label and services of a human exorcism case. Death doulas, however, they are much gentler with the cases that they take because typically there's a loving family involved, there's not too terribly much baggage. They provide services that typically include sometimes massage and meditation and like guided meditation, incense rituals, breathing exercises. They're often involved, in fact, at least here in the U.S., with the hospice services that are being provided. So they're working within an entire social and spiritual framework. And for me, it's very different. I'm working with non-human entities, aka I call them NHP, non-human people, who are there acting as my mirror. They're psychopomps on the other side of the veil in order to assist the non-compliant, you could say, party across the veil without causing harm to the living who are left behind. And so a lot of my work is psychological and then energetic. I take on a lot of heavy, deep, dark psychology, and my skills are around working with human families to sort out the trauma, the baggage, the dishonesty, the abuse, and to find the root of things and then to heal them as much as possible while assisting the other person to the other side of the veil.
Oh, looks like we might have lost Tilly's feed for a second. I'm not sure what happened there. I know her screen is frozen at the moment. So, oh, there you go, Tilly. Now I think
there
Am I
it
back?
is.
there you
Oh,
go.
back.
our Wi-Fi went out. I'm sorry about that, guys. I don't know what that was about.
Well, you're back now. So
Yes, good. Yes, so essentially we serve two completely different wow, that Wi-Fi dropping really messed me up.
degrees
We
of
offer two
difficulty
complete
when it
different
comes
services.
to degrees of
Yes.
difficulty when it comes to transitioning. Are you gonna make it easy or are you gonna go the hard way? Basically.
Right.
That affects the
And for right. And for me, I always say that where the death
stuff together more.
doulas
Oh, hold
would,
on, Tilly.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. I know, Samantha, you may not be able to tell,
Sorry.
but it looks like Tilly's connection is going
Can
in and
everyone
out.
hear me?
We
Yes.
can now, but you disappeared there for a little while, so it might be good for you to take a break for a bit and let Samantha read her account just to see if maybe the gremlins get worked out of the system on your end.
I think
Yeah.
I got it. I turned off Wi-Fi. We'll see how that does. But to wrap up what I was saying, we serve two different communities. We have different types of care and services that we offer. And death doulas, some people may consider them psychopomps, but they're not in the more classic sense, and that's perfectly okay too. Anyways,
Right.
Samantha, you found your page. Let's hear it.
I did. Well, I was going to just add to that because I always say that where the death doula's job is finished, my book picks up.
Mm.
So they're like companion pieces, So because once you're gone, the death doula is not going to be doing anything with you. And so this planning stage is for once her job or his job or their job is done, now you've already planned for what comes after your death doula's job is done. So I just think they're just kind of little bookends.
Mhm.
But okay, so we were talking about the the planning of your first encounter and writing that down. So I'm just going to start and give you a little background from it. Um, so a client of mine lost her son in a motorcycle accident the day before his high school graduation. So she set up her afterlife reunion by recreating the event he didn't get to attend. She found this exercise super comforting in her extremely difficult grief journey. When she visualized this setting, she felt a great deal of relief that he would get to have that graduation and she would be there. My client also felt sad for the students who did graduate that day. She didn't attend the graduation, but later saw pictures. Trevor, her son's empty seat, was occupied by his cap and gown, and other people told her that the occasion was somber and many people were crying over the tragedy. She hated that not only did Trevor's death devastate her, but it devastated the graduating class as well. This should have been one of the happiest days of the students' lives. My client had never been able to reconcile that for herself until she started working on her afterlife plan. She says special prayers that for one day after they've all passed, the other students can join in on this visualization of their graduation day. And here's her visualization. I'm wearing the special dress I bought for Trevor's graduation. It is the school colors of blue and gold. I open the door and enter the auditorium at Trevor's school. I walk to my seat, feeling all the wonderful, happy energy of that day. The auditorium is alive with excitement and anticipation. This is the day all parents have been working toward. I can feel the emotions of relief, joy, and sometimes disbelief that we are finally here. The air is buzzing with the hum of proud parents, families, and friends, anxious for the moment when their kid walks across that stage. Blue and gold banners are hanging everywhere. The stage is decorated with blue and gold balloons and draping. A big banner is strung across the stage proclaiming, Class of 2021, congratulations. The students begin to file into their seats. I know where Trevor is to be sitting. I look eagerly for him to fill that seat. I see him. He turns around and looks for me. He sees me and makes our secret sign to each other, index fingers crossed to make an X. It is X marks the spot to us. All the joy and pride and love fill up in my soul. I feel light and bouncy as the ceremony begins. This is nothing but pure joy and love. The principal steps up to the microphone. Principal Daniels has this big booming voice. I'm so happy to hear it as he speaks about the achievements and promise of this graduating class. One by one, the students walk across the stage, each name called with pride. I sit and remember Trevor's other graduations as the other students walk across kindergarten, middle school, karate class, my baby in an ever changing picture in my mind as he grew. The principal is getting closer to Trevor's name. Then he says it. Congratulations, Trevor Johnson. The crowd erupts in applause, and there he is stepping onto the stage. He is radiant in his cap and gown, that familiar smile lighting up the entire room. His walk is steady, confident, full of joy, and he pauses long enough to glance out and wave at me. I can feel my heart bursting with pride. All the students are joyful. They feel no sorrow for his loss because for them, there was no loss. It never happened. He takes the diploma, shaking hands with the principal, who leans in to say something that makes Trevor laugh. That laugh is like music. I can see how proud he is and how much this moment means to him. He was never the best student. He worked very hard for his grades, and his graduation was everything. As Trevor leaves the stage, he lifts his diploma high in triumph, locking eyes with me, his gaze filled with love and happiness. I cannot stop crying and laughing at the same time. This moment is everything he deserved, everything I dreamed for him. So,
That's beautiful.
so the detail, and that's something that I try to tell people, let's make details. Not,
Mhm.
I'm going to meet grandma in a green field, which is fine, by the way, if you want to meet grandma in a green field.
I can hear some people going, "Hey, that's my afterlife. Leave it alone."
Exactly, right. So that's fine. But part of the thing here is also, and I'm sure Artemaeus can appreciate that, that part of this is the psychological part of your brain and what you potentially take with you when you leave this living life. And the reason I really want them to make the details to make it real, make this real, put in your mind this is real. Put in your spirit that this will be real. And the more details you put to that, the better this will be. And I encourage people after they do their first one, and you're going to do more than that, obviously. Um, but when they do this first one, read it over and over again. You don't have to read it every day, but pick up your journal and once a month, once a year, every 6 months, something. But, embed that in your mind. So when the time comes and however you get to where you're going, whatever entities are bringing you there, um, there it is. It just blossoms for you.
I agree. I completely agree. Lavetta is saying that everything we're talking about and offering is marvelous, and I'm really happy to hear that kind of feedback. And I agree, Deb, that was beautiful. I think it would be in a few moments a great time for me also to read about my own encounter with my most recent death experience. Would you guys be up for that?
Oh, absolutely.
Sure.
Awesome.
And I was going to say, if I may, have
Mhm.
a little point here to make, which I think might be helpful for some of listeners maybe going through any similar scenario. Tilly, you might have the term in mind. I'm failing to remember it right now, but there is a type of therapy actually that does exactly what exercise you just described, which is for somebody to take a traumatic event for them that obviously didn't turn out very well, and to go back, to retroactively go back and put yourself in that moment, and how would you have wanted to see that moment play out?
Yep.
Yeah.
And I have used that technique for myself to unlock some things, and darn it if it doesn't work.
Right.
Told you so.
Right.
So
Right.
it's a beautiful exercise that, when you can take it to also, overlay instances for your next life, your afterlife, or other dimensions of existence, that it's healing on so many levels. So
Right.
um,
Right.
yeah, and this is my why mind. Why does this work? Why, to understand things on a deeper level, those machinations of this, I always call it the human meat suit, and this, chunk of whatever gray matter between our ears, understanding, or at least thinking that we're understanding how it works, making sense of it for me has always brought greater clarity and peace for me, honestly. So anyway, that's all I wanted to add. Thank you.
Awesome. We were in a really bad automobile accident a few years ago, and I couldn't get past it. I was terrified in the vehicle. And I mean, my poor husband, like, he'd get within 10 feet of another car, and I'm like, oh my God, we got to stop. That whole thing, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And it got so bad, I was like, I'm going to go see someone because this is impacting our lives in a very negative way.
Hmm.
And I did. And that is exactly one of the things that she used
Hmm.
was that. And she had me tell that story times as to the good outcome of it, basically,
Hmm.
um, that we were actually on our way to get our niece. We were picking her up from music class, yada, yada, yada. We were going to have a nice day together. And so that was a part of it, was to just go ahead with that day. So,
Yeah. Yep.
so
Yep.
yep.
And that
I was like,
it's so interesting how your mind, like you said, is such a powerful thing. We often give away our power in
right,
designing our reality. And that's what the whole law of
right,
attraction is meant to teach us. And yet
right.
we can go back and re-engineer those moments that caused us trauma and injury in that way. And you
Right.
can talk about something in such a way that your mind believes it and the rest of your body will follow. That mind body connection is amazing.
It
So yeah.
really helped. It really
Yeah.
helped me. So,
Yeah, I'm glad. I do
Yeah.
believe that Tilly is probably looking for one of her books right now, and if she comes back onto the her end, I'll be able to tell her that it's probably sitting on the bookshelf. That's not very far from where her camera is, but I think I hear her creaking around in our upstairs right now, looking for it at the moment. So she's left me here to entertain the masses while she goes and looks for her book. So
Maybe you should just mute yourself and yell up the stairs.
that probably would be the smart thing to do, honestly. So yeah, matter of fact, thank you for that. I'm gonna go ahead and do that right now,
Do
and
it.
we're gonna get that
Absolutely.
situated. So hold on, crew. We'll be right back.
Well, I'm still here. Hey, thank you to everyone for showing up. I mean, this is so much fun. Tilly and Artemaeus are just such wonderful, wonderful people. So do check in with them with their other things. And I did get a chance to read a galley copy of Tilly's book. I didn't have time to give it all the time that it needed. Definitely, definitely worth having. I think you guys would enjoy it so very much. You know.
Hello, friends. I apologize for that. Oh, look, we don't have to imagine it anymore. I found a copy.
Oh, wow. Yay.
Yes. I am so sorry though. Between the Wi-Fi issues and then the scramble trying to get my book, it cost me a minute, but I appreciate your patience, everyone. All right, I'm going to go find that page. I'll be back with you in a moment.
And as is pretty typical, you can blame it on the husband because it was indeed my fault that she couldn't find the book. I did some cleaning earlier and placed it on the bookshelf of all places.
What the hell?
Right.
God, Artemaeus, what are you doing?
I know. And this is the thing about this relationship. It's so funny that she, Tilly being the totally different brain waves. When I first met her, I completely had written her off as an airhead, and there is some proof to that. Essentially, the type of brain waves that she is consistently running are the brain waves that the average human uses during sleep. So, I mean, she is kind of dreamy, and as a result, though, the house is often in a constant state of what seems to be complete disarray to someone like me, who is very orderly and organized. And so, yeah, books go on the bookshelf, but that's not where Tilly will look for them. So anyway, Tilly, take it away.
Well, thank you for that marvelous introduction. Yes, that's something that I'm involved in. I've got regular laboratory visits and whatnot, and I'm going to be publishing more of the brain scan activity that they find with me and hopefully get more testimony about that generally. But of course, there are non-disclosure agreements and whatnot. But he is correct. I am a bit of an airhead in that way, and it's because my brain is, while I'm here and sitting talking to you, and I'm obviously living this life, my brain manufactures almost no beta waves whatsoever. I have to be under an extreme amount of stress to have them. The rest of the time, I am running purely on alpha, theta, and delta while I'm conscious and chittering away and whatnot. And they think that that's part of what allows me to interact so freely with NHP on the other side of the veil and live so very harmoniously with all types of them. But of course, there's also a cost, like dealing with human beings. I really struggle with that, and I'm still learning about the psychology and whatnot. And it's a whole thing. But I'm a lab rat. I'm a guinea pig, and I'm really proud of the work that I do. And I look forward to the day that I can talk about it openly with you all. But I have indeed found the page. Are you ready for a story?
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Good, good, good. This is from the chapter Dire Circumstances. The role of unfinished business in the creation of ghosts and spirits. It was the early morning of March 17th, 2025, a notable day for me, especially because I'm a touch under half Irish. The blood moon eclipse had passed a few days before. My husband and I had gleefully, completely celebrated it, and I had gone to bed happily enough after my evening prayers. In the silence of the night, however, all did not seem well. My heart woke me, fluttering as quickly as it could, but lacking might. My legs were cramping up, every muscle tighter than I had ever felt before, and I couldn't feel my chest, arms, back, or face. What I could feel of my physical form was incredibly hot. All attempts to open my eyes and roll from my back to face my slumbering husband failed. I was paralyzed while the leg cramping intensified, my heartbeat grew weaker, and the numbness spread. Thankfully, this only lasted approximately 3 seconds before I found my consciousness, me, falling somehow both down and in, first feeling as though my consciousness was in my chest, and then it gathered in my forehead before I fell down and in from there, shrinking as I did. I looked around. I was on a park path. It was a light gray color, smooth and uniform in every consideration. To my left, the path was lined with what looked to be purple wisteria trees, all mature and in full bloom. On the right, black iron park lamps lit the way. It seemed as though this was an early, somewhat misty morning, judging by the light, which was even and seemed to lack an origin point. It was all so beautiful and peaceful. I was wearing a somewhat loose, floor-length silk or satin slip dress in a fresh, light green color. The thin shoulder straps felt light and breezy. It was simple but attractive and comfortable. I cannot recall if I was barefoot or in some kind of matching slippers, but moving was far easier than it had been for me in many years. My hair was perfectly styled, better than the best hair day I've ever had on earth, and I was in immaculate health. To anyone who is familiar with the NDE I had in 2023, the same person was present with me here. Who is, quote, she, unquote? I don't claim to know. And yet, she was here. Again, she didn't allow me to see her, but I knew that she was standing right beside me. You're dead now, she spoke to me telepathically. I began to panic. No, that can't be. I haven't found a way to communicate with them yet. I grabbed my face and tried to run from her down the path. I found my husband, who was one of the people that I was frantically searching for, and we stood on the little path while I tried to find all the words to explain what he'd need to know now that I was leaving. He stood quietly, patiently listening, but not really taking it in or reacting. When I saw this, I continued my sprint down the park path until I found other people, and the cycle repeated. During this time, out of disbelief and trauma, I accidentally popped out of my quote-unquote incarnate form. Deciding that I liked this coping mechanism, I employed it over and over when I felt too overwhelmed. I could see everything from there, the whole park scene in 360 degrees, my ego self-interacting with various characters, the details of my clothes and hair and skin. I had no ego at all in this state. It was pure bliss and peace, solely observing. From here, the idea of self was full of meaning, familiar, yet somehow foreign, out of reach emotionally and psychologically. I marveled at existence in a moment of complete awareness then, and experimented in diving into and out of my incarnate ego and the living story before me. They can't hear you, she finally said. I stopped, mired in sadness and acceptance. She and I took a walk. I trust that you have a great imagination, dear reader, and so I'll leave it up to you to dream of what we might have discussed and what she might have shown me. While I will not share the details, I can say that this experience, death, was the greatest and most helpful event in my entire life. After a while, I asked her, "Where do I go now?" "Wherever you want," came her answer. At peace, I chose to come back to Earth to get my unfinished business settled. I wanted to see how the earthly stories would unfold. I concentrated as hard as I could on the details of the version and vibration of Earth that I desired, as well as those of myself. And as I squeezed my eyes closed, I was able to simultaneously see from the ego incarnate form and from the external vantage point as a soft pink light began to fill my vision and the scene. I willed myself to inhabit that timeline with all my might, and the light grew into a stronger pink, taking on a golden hue until it built into a flash. Then, poof, I was sitting up in bed, my heart perfectly calm and with no concerning symptoms whatsoever. And for anyone who may be wondering, there was no light, no white light, no tunnel, no life review or judgment in any death experience I've personally had. And now I'm here with you.
Hey, hi. That's amazing. That's so amazing. Yeah, I've had two indies myself. Both were very, very different, but that
Mhm.
is so amazing. Yep. So you
Do
just
you
had
have any further commentary on it? Did you notice any patterns or?
no, they were both really, really different. One,
Gotcha.
I was a child and I drowned. Um, and finally, by the time they pulled me out, had no heartbeat. They had to do all the things, right? But before they brought me back, I saw the most beautiful underwater scene, fishes, mermaids. Now I'm about 10, okay? Uh, and and I saw a crystal cave, and I knew that that was for me, and that was where I was supposed to go. I just inherently knew that there was something in there that was just mine. And so I started walking toward it, and pretty much just as I got there, I woke up on the beach to hear my mother screaming and people running around and all kind of commotion. And just momentarily, I was so annoyed that they had awakened me or brought me back or whatever. I didn't know I was dead, because I was just so determined to see what was in that crystal cave. And to this day, I can, like a lot of things from your childhood just kind of fade off into oblivion. You can't remember your seventh birthday party or whatever it is. Um, and I can just, everything about that is real to me. So I expect that to be part of my afterlife journey.
Yeah, I was going to say I was waiting for that to be somewhere on the list of things that you were going to get resolution on.
Yeah, something's in there and it's only for me. And it's kind of crazy because I want to say I heard a voice, but I don't know how to explain it. It's like I felt a voice
Mhm.
as opposed to heard a voice. I just really don't know how to explain the sensation, like
Mhm.
a body sensation, as opposed to
Mhm.
hearing an auditory thing. I
Mhm.
had a body sensation of a voice telling me that what was in there was only for me and it will never be for anyone else but me. So yeah, no, I need to know this. I need to
I
know
love that. And I
this
know what you're talking
information.
about. I
Uh-huh.
had the same experience. It's really hard to put into words exactly what it was like when my own companion, whoever she, he, it, they was talking to me, because it's not at all like audio hearing. It's a complete
No,
inner experience.
it's almost like the sound vibrations are in your skin.
Yeah.
Like,
Fell deep.
yeah. Kind of like, how when somebody's got the bass up too much on their car and you're in
Yeah.
your car and you're like, like that. It's kind of like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
I
that's
completely
beautiful.
agree.
I read what you sent me. I didn't have time to give all the attention to it that I want to go back and give to it, but it's really good.
Very good.
It's really good.
No pressure, no rush whatsoever, and I've still got that signed copy for you if you ever want to take me up on that trade
Oh, yes,
offer.
yes, yes.
Yes.
Did Kat
Um,
send you a hard copy?
huh?
Did Kat send you a hard copy of the book?
No, she's not been in touch. I was expecting to chat with
Oh,
you. Yeah, I haven't gotten
huh.
anything from her since she was asking or since you did that really brief introduction, because I sent you all the details over on Messenger.
Right.
You didn't reply or anything, so I wasn't sure what was going on. I didn't want to push it, but no, I would love it if Kat could help a girl out. I'd love to have that trade going,
I'll
but
send it
only
to
if
you.
it's no pressure,
I'll just, yeah, no, I'll just do it myself. Well, that's fine.
Okay, totally cool.
Sometimes
Yeah,
she sends out a hard copy. Sometimes she sends out the galley. It just kind of depends.
gotcha. Yeah,
So,
we'll
yeah.
work it out later.
Oh,
But
yeah, not a big deal.
I think this is a great time to offer another death trivia question to the
Mm.
audience, should anyone wish to play. Um, which of you would like to voluntold yourself to help me out here?
So I'm on my phone as the camera, so I'm not entirely sure I can get to Messenger. If I
Okay.
disappear, I'll be right back. Let me see.
It looks like she may have disappeared briefly, and the
You
same
may
thing would
have.
happen. The same thing would happen to me, I believe, if I tried to look up and leave the feed for a moment to find the question that you had sent me. So,
Well, I guess that all of our devices work differently, because on mine, I can open apps on top of each other. Excuse me.
yeah,
So, for example, I have little bubbles that are different apps floating around on my screen. I can just
yeah.
tap it to open up.
I might be able to engineer my display to look like that, but at the moment it seems as though I am not able to do that. So she may have to re-enter the studio with the link. It looks like that may be what she ends up needing to do. But let me see if mine will offer anything different here. Mm.
Okay, here she is.
Out. I'm sorry. I can't.
Oh, it's
I can't
okay.
call it up. I'm going to volunteer Artemaeus as my worthy mouthpiece.
He's trying to work on it now. I can't tell. Are you frozen, dear, or
Uh-oh.
yeah, you are. That's okay. I can do it. I tried. It was a valiant effort, and that's all right.
A very good effort. But
Yes.
technology is not always our friend.
No, definitely not. But I still appreciate the both of you being open and willing to
There
play
we go.
along.
All right,
Oh,
but I memorized one of them, so
Okay.
I can ask the question if you wish.
Go ahead if you like, dear.
yes.
Okay. So, I don't know how many people are familiar with Viking mythology, but in Viking mythology, Norse mythology, the place that warriors would go if they died valiantly in battle would be Valhalla. And so, roughly half, supposedly, of warriors who fell in battle went to Valhalla, but the other half would be relegated to a particular meadow via a particular goddess. So, does anybody know who that goddess is?
Excellent job. All right, for those who are watching and listening, no cheating. If you know the answer to this question, please put it in the chat, and you will win a digital copy of our new book, The Persistence of Ghosts. Okay, and Lavetta says, to go along with Dr. Corfield's book, I would like to know where I can get a copy of Mrs. Treadwell's book. There are excellent, well-researched texts. Yeah, absolutely. If you are ready to take the dive and buy one of my magical tomes, you can do so at intermediary.art. There's a whole little bookshop on there. I think you'd really enjoy it. And you might also want to keep an eye out, because on September 1st at noon, Intermediary Magazine also makes its debut. So we'll have more information about that coming soon. Links will be in the description, etc., etc. But if you want to go check that out right now, it's just intermediary.art. All right, and hopefully we'll have a winner or two here. And can you guys believe it? It has already been a little bit over an hour and 41 minutes.
I know, it's crazy.
It's
It's so crazy. So, Tilly, I wanted to bring up something from the book and Artemaeus, and just see kind of where you are on this philosophy. So, one of the things that I encourage people to do is to train to be a ghost.
Yes.
And there's a whole thing in there about training to be a good ghost. But the part that is so interesting to me is having people, if they can, of course, if their loved ones are open to it, tell them what they would prefer. Do they just want to see a butterfly and know that it's Aunt Jenny? Do they want like a full-blown, hey, how you doing? And I put a lot of different religious and spiritual beliefs in there as kind of a reference for people. You know, like if you have a Hindu friend, you might not want to do this, that, and the other as a ghost because of their belief system. But what do you think about the idea of asking people what kind of involvement they would like to have with you once you are
I love
passed?
that. And I touched on that in The Persistence of Ghosts. But I think that it's something that really deserves a whole lot more attention, because in all of my human exorcism cases, this was a core piece of theory and boundary and psychology that I'd wind up working out with the family and then the recently deceased, etc., etc. And I think that it would solve a lot of strife, relational strife, if people here were to do that before they leave the physical shell. So I love that you brought that up. And, you know, like you, I'm the editor now of a magazine that we're trying to grow. I manage a whole team of people, and I've got, you know, lab days and everything, and my health journey. So I have not been able to completely commit to reading your book. However,
Right.
I'm really glad that you brought that up, and I'm on board 100%. Artemaeus, dear, what do you think?
Well, I have a story actually about that I haven't yet shared with you, Tilly. So this will be interesting for you to hear as well. So, so my grandfather passed away on I believe it was the 29th or the 30th of July. So it's been relatively recently, and my mother, whose father that it was, said that she would really like to hear from him, and we were careful to make sure that we defined how that communication should be, because again, you know, this was an exorcism case and we didn't want him hanging around feeling like he had unfinished business, or that my mother inviting him was still keeping him tied down in that way, that she more or
Right.
less just wanted some, you know, nice, you know, signs like some people do. And so this ties into, Samantha, what you were just saying about, you know, how you would like to be seen, you know, or remembered by, you know, communicated, that your presence is known, essentially. And, my mother didn't say this to him, prior to his passing, because he had obviously a lot going on, that was not forefront on his mind. And she had, my youngest sister had asked my mother what sign she wanted to see, what maybe spirit animal she wanted to see. At least that's how the question was framed. And my mother thought about it for a moment and said, I would like to see a grasshopper. And she chose that specifically because the way my grandfather used to sit, and I actually caught myself doing it several times here. If you've been seeing me shift, sits in a certain way where, it's like you got grasshopper legs. It's very, kind of akimbo and a little awkward. And so she partially picked that too because she has not seen a grasshopper in quite some time as well. So for her, it was sort of like a twofold. Like, it reminds me of him, but also if I see it, I haven't seen one in quite some time, that would be somewhat definitive for me. And she was having a rough day the other day, and she, walking the dog, asked, for a little sign, something to pick me up, basically, to, if dad was around, to let her know. And she said she saw very clearly what looked like a piece of mulch fell out of the sky. She said, I'm not near a bush. I'm not near a tree. I'm not near anything that, would explain this piece of mulch just falling out of the sky. But sure enough, as she approached it, it was a quite large grasshopper. And, she's like, I started bawling. I'm crying. The dog's looking at me like, what's going on? I don't understand what's wrong, So, but yeah, this happened, just the other day. So very fresh, and was nice to know that, my grandfather doesn't seem to be lingering in any way that's, painful for anybody involved. So that was,
Right.
Right. Nice that even though he didn't design that specifically, that it was requested and delivered.
Right. Message received.
Yeah.
And I think that's the beauty of it. And and I know a lot of it, if you're going to try to plan that kind of thing, a lot of that might depend on your family belief and all of that. But I think it's just great if you have the opportunity to talk to people and say, hey, because then you take that knowledge and then you can make that your own and manifest it. When I was talking to people about being a ghost, I was like, if you're open to it, because how many people have said, oh, mom, I wish you were here so you could tell me what to do. Oh, dad, I wish I could have your strength right now that you used to always give me. So we're kind of already throwing those requests out there left and right, and people don't think anything of it. This is such a common thing. People don't think it's woo-woo or esoteric. They just do it. And so to have sort of some kind of foreknowledge and planning, I just think that will be so great for people. It's really nice.
Yeah.
I love that grasshopper story. That's amazing.
I agree. And things have been really busy. I know that telling me sometimes your own paranormal stories, it's not at the forefront of your mind, but I'm glad actually that you were able to recall it for the show here tonight. I'm really
Yes.
glad to hear it. And in every human exorcism case that I've ever worked, I've eventually gotten to some type of peaceful resolution. And a big part of my job as an esoteric exorcist working a human exorcism case actually is to separate the the higher self, you could say, from the human ego self,
Right.
and
Right.
to essentially banish the human ego self to where it needs to go next. And then I find that oftentimes, indeed, that higher self without the ego comes back and delivers peaceful, happy types of messages. And in
Yes.
fact, we had one happen right after I completed the ceremony. Honey, that one was also for you. Do you want to talk about that real quick?
Are you talking about the both of those back-to-back experiences the night after?
I was talking about that astral hug.
Yeah, that one.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that night after we got home from the facility where he was. He hadn't yet passed. I mean, we got home probably 11 o'clock at night, and he ended up passing around 4:47, I think. The night nurse said, later, early morning the next day. And between the hours of 3 and 4 a.m., I had two experiences. The one was not so savory, and that's the other aspect of, being uh, a mostly human dealing with exorcism ceremonies. But the positive one was I was in a twilight sort of sleep state, so not quite awake, but not quite asleep. And I remember laying face down on the bed, which was not typically a position that I sleep in because I'm old and my back starts hurting anyway. So, and I'm kind of got my arms a little wrapped-ish around the edge of my pillow, and I distinctly remember feeling that I was floating in that position, but the pillow was no longer, in between my arms. The pillow just kind of, melted away. And as I'm sitting there, sort of, lightly suspended, I felt, and the only way I can describe this is a sensation as if a waterbed could hug you. It was a full contact, like every surface completely enveloping. It was clearly a hug, is how it felt. It came, up from the bed-ish, and then, it lingered for several seconds, and then fell away down, towards the bed, and then I was left floating again. And just a very profound, sincere, and encompassing sense of peace and well-being. Something that I have only ever gotten one other time in my life. Such a complete feeling of well-being and just love and peace and all of those things, like something that's just straight out of a dream, really. And like I said, this happened between the hours of 3 and 4 a.m., which was very, very shortly before he was, pronounced had passed on. And I'm pretty certain, since I've not had any other experience like that in my life, that it had to have been him. Just as sort of like a, hey kid, thanks, and we'll see you later kind of thing. A sort of brief thing, which was very much like him. Didn't want to make anything too heavy. He was always joking. So for him to just give something very light, very brief, very kind, and moving on seemed pretty much spot on. So yeah, that was
That's
nice.
amazing.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a beautiful experience. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, thanks.
That's
Yeah, it
amazing.
really was. So.
Yeah, that's I love that. Brought some tears to my eyes.
Yeah, thank you.
So, so have you guys? I know who's interviewing who, right? You guys, have you guys ever had? I'm calling it a once removed sign. Let me just 2 minutes of brief history. Well, like you said, I was on Coast to Coast, and they have callers that call in live, right? And
Right.
so this lady called in, and she was talking about her son who had passed away, and he'd been, I think, a mechanic of some kind. And so that everywhere she went, when she'd like get out of her car, there'd be nuts and bolts and things. And so she picked them all up, right? Okay. I don't know this woman, but I am going back and ask the producer to help me find this woman because I know her name, and she said she's a regular listener. Because shortly thereafter, guess who started finding
Mm,
nuts and bolts?
nuts and bolts.
Oh, yes. Okay. Your language confused me a little bit, but now that makes absolutely perfect sense. And yeah, I've had stuff like that happen my entire life. And this is
Yeah,
part of actually what shaped my belief that we are not separate. I mean, I've already got really low
right.
ego content and really low emotional content, so I experience us all as one typically anyways. But when it
Yeah.
came to being able to have signs like that, that's happened my entire life. And I'm so happy to hear about someone else talking through this. So when
Right.
did you start finding the nuts and the bolts after you had listened to her?
Almost about 48 hours afterwards. And my husband does a lot of fixing of cars and things like that too.
Yeah.
And so, if I find something in my own yard, I'm pretty much going to just chalk that up to that, right?
Mhm.
Then I started finding things elsewhere. And I don't want to say the lady's name in case it's private, but I'll call her Maria.
Sure.
And so every time I see it, I was like, oh my God, that is Maria's son. And I started picking them up and I want to get them to her. So I'm gonna the producer for that show is really an amazing gentleman. And so I'm going to write him and just say, can you
Yeah.
just do a shout? Can George do a shout out to this woman and just say, hey, if you want to, if you want to get in touch with Samantha, could we just kind of do that thing? Because I want to send them to her.
Mhm.
And it's
Yeah.
like, I've never had like, I've had signs I knew for other people in my other life. That's almost kind of what I do,
Mhm.
as a voodoo mambo and readings and spell work and all that. That's a whole nother life.
Sure.
Um, but so I get a lot of interpretation of signs for people. I get signs for other people, but that's people that I'm reading for and people that I know, this is a complete stranger, or maybe not, are any of us complete strangers?
Right.
Um, um, in this physical form, she's a complete stranger to me, never met her, don't remember what she said her son's name was. I remember her name. But I felt very clear about, for whatever reason, and I kind of feel like if I can get a hold of her, I think she's going to know the reason. I think she's going to go, oh, yeah, absolutely. I understand that. So
Oh yeah.
that's what I'm
Yeah, I
hoping
think
for.
she would. How fun to just you'd be receiving an envelope of nuts and bolts in the mail, and anyone looking at it be like, "What the heck is this?" But wow, what a great story. And my
Yes,
dears, we
ma'am.
are approaching the 2 hour mark.
We
Friends in
are.
the chat, if you have any questions at all for Samantha, Artemaeus, and or myself, now is the time. This is a tavern, it's a bar, it's getting to be closing time. You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. So this is last call, everyone. And in the meantime, Samantha, it has been such an honor and a pleasure. Please hang out with us afterwards. But while we're waiting
Absolutely.
on any questions, comments, etc., would you please tell us all where we can get your books, where we can find your podcasts, anything that you want to
Absolutely.
shamelessly advertise?
Plug
Of
away.
course. So for this little baby here, wherever books are sold, if you like the Zon, if you don't like the Zon, don't go there. Barnes and Noble, and a lot of independent bookstores are carrying it. So please, if you have independent bookstores that you support, if they don't have them, they'll get it for you. And we want to keep those independent bookstores alive as much as we can. You can also buy directly from me at createyourownafterlife.com. And also on that website, there's a lot of other information. I have links to tons of other podcasts that I was on so that, sometimes you can go watch those things and get a lot of questions answered that you might have. So I may have already answered them there, kind of thing. And I have some fun stuff on that page too. A little quiz about, what kind of afterlife person you might be. So it's just meant to be interactive and fun. So, and you can just buy straight from me if you want to. So createyourownafterlife.com, same title as the book, because, why not, right? And yeah, and just really, it's Barnes and Noble has it, pretty much all the big sellers have it internationally as well too. If there's any international listeners, it's in a lot of bookstores internationally. But definitely, if you support a local bookstore, they'll order it for you.
Excellent. And so let's say that someone wants to reach you. What would be the best way to do so?
Um, you can email me, SAMC, SAMC, at createyourownafterlife.com. And if it's for an appearance or whatever, there's a link on there to media at createyourownafterlife.com. But if you want to talk to me personally, Sam C at createyourownafterlife.com.
Brilliant. All right. I have a few things I'd like to share with you, and then we will formally wrap up. So the magazine goes live on September 1st at noon. That's intermediary.art/mag. Tricks and treats hit the whole website at midnight on September 1st as well. A spooky scavenger hunt for the night owls and the brave. And everyone, please do check out Samantha's work, her book, her website. You can chat her up if you wish. I'm sure that the party continues, as does the life and the afterlife. We hope that you've had a brilliant time here with us. It's been such a blessing and an honor to be with you. Since there don't seem to be any comments or further questions in the chat, we're going to say adieu for now, but I will see you soon, Booze. Hang out with me.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Thank you so much.
Thank you. My pleasure.
Of course.
Well, I never could walk beneath the sun. It shut my body down before the day had begun. Mayor's porphyria written in my bones, a frequency the modern world disowns. So I built my life beneath the crescent light and found that there are languages in night. While everybody else was basking in the blaze, I learned that darker rooms have other ways. These eyes were shaped to read a broader light. These ears were tuned to what hides out of sight. Can't stomach half the food they serve down here, like someone visiting from a different sphere. And I saw what they couldn't see. The spirits in the walls were waving back at me. Every stone, every bone, every flicker in the chrome. There's something alive on my weird walk home. Yeah, there's something alive on my weird walk home. I walk beside the church without a collar or a creed. I was serving in a sundress that I will go where there is need. The critters in the dark, they recognize my face. I used to be like them in another time and place. I say that all that matter holds a consciousness inside. Existence is layered and the layers learn to hide. So call it what you like, so call it what you will, but someone's always calling me and it's calling to be still. And I see what they can't see. The spirits in the walls were waving back at me. Every tree, every key, every whisper in the breeze. Luminous, there's a presence if you please. Yeah, there's something alive on my weird walk home. Artemaeus took my hand and joined me on this fight. He saw objects manifesting from the other side. Time would skip like a record on a scratch. Then one night someone wore my thinking on the latch. Shadows in the bedroom just past 3. He said, darling, was that you? I said, no, dear, that's just Tuesday in my atmosphere. Then the gods of Egypt came for me with a message, and his initiation was complete. 'Cause we see what they can't see. The fairies and the mimics and the things between the trees. Storms roll in, lights were dim, that's when the veil is thin. There's a whole world breathing beyond your skin.
Merry morning, or magical midnight, around the dimensions, through the vibrations. Whenever you may be, whichever plane you're letting in, whatever century, your spirit's always welcome here. You are not alone. So, follow the lantern. Find the stone. You're joining me on my weird walk.